What's going on, Falcon fan? This is Ricondo coming back at you with another video. So today, guys, we're going to talk about the season review for the Atlanta Falcons. All the things that we like, what we didn't like. You know, it was a lot of good things that happened this season for the Atlanta Falcons. A lot of positive things. It was a lot of disappointing things. That's why we're looking for a new coach right now. So it's a lot of things that we're going to discuss today. Definitely going to give you one of the biggest things we're going to talk about is the update on the coaching search. Haven't really heard a lot of things from the Atlanta Falcon organization, but it's getting really, really interesting because there are a lot of vacancies right now. And I know the Atlanta Falcons talked about not rushing and they want to take their time, but the truth of the matter is, one of your candidates that you might want might not be out there. We're definitely going to talk about the rumor about Coach Belichick coming in from the New England Patriots if they decide to let him go. But it's a lot of interesting candidates out there. The Atlanta Falcons say they're going to do their due diligence, but let's hope, let's see, and we're going to talk about that today. So, guys, with that being said, if you had not already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. Please hit that notification bell so you know when I drop another video. Please hit that like button so I know you guys out here to talk about. And please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come in and hear me talk about. That's right, these Atlanta Falcons. So, with that being said, guys, we're going to start off with the Atlanta Falcons. Like I said, there's a lot of things that went well this offseason for the Atlanta Falcons. And there's a lot of things that went bad. So we're going to talk about all those things today. And I want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think. What you thought went well, what you thought went bad. Some of the improvement that we definitely seen, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I thought the Atlanta Falcons did a lot of great things on the defensive side of the ball. And there's a lot of things that they definitely could work on moving forward. So when you're looking at it, Atlanta Falcons, from an offensive standpoint this year, had a total of 32 touchdowns, which is not a lot. You got some quarterbacks that had 32 touchdowns by themselves. 14 rushing, 17 passing. We had one defensive touchdown. We know who that came from. It came from Mr. Jesse Bates himself. We had 40 sacks this season. 40 sacks. That's a tremendous jump from what the Atlanta Falcons had last year. So the things that we could talk about on the defensive side of the ball, and we talk about, the entire season, the Atlanta Falcons continue to be one of the best red zone defenses in the league last year. They also was in the top 10, in scoring defense for most of the year, especially, of course, if you take out the last game, we gave up 48 points there. But for the most part, the Atlanta Falcons defense played well throughout the season. Now, it did have its moments, of course, where things didn't go the way we wanted to go. We couldn't get the stops that we need to get. And it cost us some games, to be honest with you. But for the most part, when you talk about our defense, the improvements that we've seen on the defensive side of the ball was tremendous. To being able to increase our sack numbers is just amazing. And I don't think we could ever imagine. I know I came out, I said 40 sacks, we made it. That's where I kind of figured we was going to get to, from a team standpoint. The amazing thing about that 40 sack number, we did not have a guy that was completely dominant to go over double-digit sacks. So the sacks was done by committee. So when you talk about coaching, right, we talk about coaching. We know Arthur Smith is no longer with us, but you talk about coaching, being able to produce sacks and getting up to 40 without having a guy that went over a double-digit sacks. It's kind of impressive because we was able to create sacks, right? You were able to do it by pressures. Sometimes we was able to, do it by just rushing forward. Sometimes we were sending our secondary guys. Richard Grant ended up with 3 sacks. So those are some of the things that you can look at, from a defensive standpoint. One of the reasons personally why, I wasn't completely with the dismissal of Archer Smith, because the defense played so well, and I was concerned about, bringing in somebody else where the defense was not going to be as good as it was last year. So this year just passed. Now, when we look at the defensive side of the ball, we had injuries. I think, 2 injuries that really hurt us, but we did have guys step up. So it didn't affect us as much as I thought it would. Especially if you look at the linebacker spot, I thought Nate Landman made himself a lot of money. This off season, he's going to be able to get him a long-term deal. I can see that happening. The question is, the new coach coming in, with bringing in Caden Ellis, the way Nate Landman played, the potential that Troy Anderson has. Troy Anderson I still believe that he has a lot of potential to be a great linebacker, in this league. It's just a question now, because we might have a new coaching staff. How do these new coaches look at these players? The question about how they look at a guy like Grady Jarrett, right? We know Grady Jarrett is an all-pro guy. I feel like if Grady Jarrett would have been in the game, some of these defensive stances that we had towards the end of the season, I think the Atlanta Falcons would have fared better in some of those instances. I think in the Minnesota Vikings game against Josh Dawg, I believe Grady may be able to have something to say about that. In the Arizona game, I think maybe Grady would have something to say about that. Now, the truth is, you don't know. You don't know 100% whether or not that it would definitely be a difference, with those guys in. But, the way Grady was able to step up in crucial moments in the past, I just feel like he will be able to do that, in some of these games. So missing Grady and missing Troy Anderson, 2 our starters to start the season, and the defense did not miss a beat. That's really what you like to see from your defense. The next man up mentality really came in effect big time. This year we had injuries in some games where some of our younger guys had to step up as well. And which brings me to some of the issues that moving forward, what this new regime, whoever the coaching staff is going to be, going to have to, kind of consider. A guy like Bud Dupree, who actually played a lot of snaps for the Atlanta Falcons. What is potential they're going to do with him? Of course, Calais Campbell, he talked about he still can play. He's going to take time off and decide whether he want to come back next year. So that's going to be interesting as well about Calais Campbell. Our cornerback position is really up in the air. Jeff Okudah is another guy that actually got benched towards the end of the season for our rookie, Clark Phillips. What did they decide to do with Jeff Okudah? So these are just some positions that we definitely got to think about going into the end of the season. But the biggest part, I think the brightest part about our defense is what I just mentioned, those young guys that stepped up, and got the opportunity because guys was injured. Guys had to be limited and things like that. A guy like Zach Harrison came on towards the end of the season. Unfortunately, he wasn't out there the last game of the season. He might have been able to, bring some production there to help us, and maybe when we wouldn't have got stumped by those New Orleans Aints, right? So a guy like Nate Landman, we just talked about him. Like I said, he made a lot of money, and if this regime was coming back, I know they would have to really consider about how they was going to try to utilize Nate Landman, Kate Ellis, and Troy Anderson once he got back to the fold as well. So these are some of the things that this season review that we look at, and going into the future, I think the Atlanta Falcons are sitting good. Now, there are some things that the Atlanta Falcons definitely need to address, moving forward. In particular, they need to be able to address, we just talked about the cornerback position, the secondary. I think AJ Terrell is solid. You want to see AJ start to, try to create more turnovers, be more predictive. productive on that side, when it comes to playing defense. If you think about the interceptions that we did get this season, none of those interceptions came from our cornerbacks. So that's something that we definitely, what's going on, Millie Mills? That's something that we definitely got to start to think about in the secondary, right? We want to be able to get guys that's our playmakers. Like, so we got AJ. I think he's solid. The Atlanta Falcons new coaching regime now have to make a decision whether they want to be able to, pay AJ. I think they should, right? However, I think he kind of hurt his stock just a little bit this year because he was a victim of a couple plays out there that cost the Atlanta Falcons some games. So, but over than that, I think AJ's a solid guy. He traveled with the best receivers most of the year. That the second game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he held Mike Evans just to one reception. So he's definitely earned his contract, and it's going to be interesting to see can they get that done. The biggest thing about that situation, like I said, because we're coming in a new coaching staff, it just be interesting how these guys decide, move forward with all the players on the team, right? It just is, we got 42 players currently on their contract. I think they just signed a future contract with a wide receiver as well. So the Atlanta Falcons don't have to go out and bring in a lot of new players, but they do need to fill some holes. We just talked about the secondary. I think another defensive lineman definitely would benefit. We have to get a pass rusher. There's no doubt about it. I'm really impressed about, the jump that we did in the sack totals, having those 40 sacks. That was amazing. That was outstanding. However, we got to get somebody because I just mentioned we had nobody that had double-digit sacks on this team. Now, what's impressive, we did get 40 sacks, but none of our guys reached that double-digit number. So, good coaching because you was able to, to create pressures other ways and get guys off their spots to be able to get to the quarterback. But, we have to be able to get somebody that's dynamic that other teams will have to scheme for, right? And I think if you do that, you open up, the door for a guy like a Grady Jarrett, a guy like a Dave Amiyata to even be more productive because now you're worrying about a pass rush on the outside. Now, I did like some of the strides that Armor Ebiketie made this season. But however, like I said, this new coaching staff, because I feel like when Armor Ebiketie was signed, remember, he came in under Dean Pease, which more fit a 3-4 outside linebacker role. With Ron Nielsen, we went back to, more of a traditional 4-3. And Armor Ebiketie came in on, mostly pass rush downs and things like that. He did play well, though. He really did. You like, his growth. You want to see more production after that. Hopefully, guys that jump from year 2 to year 3 is what we're going to see from a guy like Armor Ebiketie, right? And guys, later on, once we get the coaching staff, I'm going to break down every guy, going in. Just like last season, we went through all the guys that need to be, to have more production going into this new season and things like that. Only guy that I really think that could be on the bubble, in my opinion, especially from his performance this year, in some areas, because in other areas I thought he really excelled, and that's a guy like Richie Grant. I thought in coverage, he really, showed his limitations that he have in coverage. As a box safety, I thought Richie Grant was really solid. Like I said, he did have 3 sacks on the season. Great blitzer. He's also a great tackler, but in coverage, that's where he really got limitations. I thought they picked on Richie Grant. And really, at the end of the day, when you trying to, to call offenses, you're trying to find the mismatches. And a lot of teams, they thought Richie Grant was a mismatch, and that's where they went the ball. So he can definitely work on that. It's not that he can't get better, but maybe it's just a time where the new regime looking at film, they got to break down all these guys. That's where the biggest part about, starting over. Like I said, I don't like it a lot because this new coaching staff got to come in. Now, if the Atlanta Falcons are able to keep their defensive staff intact, that would be amazing. That really would be good. They already know these guys. They know what they need to work on. They know what they need from a defensive standpoint. All those things would be really awesome. Right now, most of all those guys are still under contract. Now, other teams are trying to get interviews with some, and the Atlanta Falcons is really keeping a good, tight nip on what's going on around our coaches and the coaching search and everything like that. And we'll definitely get into the coaching in just a minute. But the thing is, when you talk about bringing in a new coaching regime, they're going to look at guys, right? And a lot of times, they want to change. They got different philosophies, right? They might not like how Ryan Nielsen deployed those guys, which worked well for most of our guys. Like I say, look at the sack numbers. You look how well the defense played, right? You would think that you would have had the second year of growth in the same system where these guys can be even better, right? But that's not what happened, because we were just so bad. It was so disappointing that Arthur Blank decided that he had to cut bait, and that's what he had to do. Robert E. Smith says Grant got abused in coverage this season. Yes, he did. It was. I mean, I think every big play that we can think of, Richard Grant might have had his hand in it, man. He really did. Like, it was bad this season. And like I said, they find mismatches. That's what good offenses do. They go look for a mismatch. And when the Atlanta Falcons decide to go man-to-man coverage, and they saw Richard Grant out there man-to-man, that's who they targeted. And most of the time, it actually worked out in their favor. So that's one of the areas I think the Atlanta Falcons need to fix. J.C. Bate is awesome in coverage, right? But there's some things to work on, from other guys in the defense. I thought from Clark Phillips kind of got, took the school a little bit because of his height. They just kind of manhandled him out there, especially in that Aints game. He's had great coverage. You can see he's there. The technique he needed to work on, it kind of remind me of a guy like, if you guys remember, Brent Grimes, really, really good in that area. Short, similar to Clark Phillips III, and he was able to make big plays. So, it's not impossible for Clark Phillips to be a great corner, because for the most part, he didn't get beat. He just got mossed, and, the whole turn over the top. They big bodied him on some catches and things like that. And those are some of the things he have to work on. This is his first season, so he could potentially, be that second corner for us. But I still think that the Atlanta Falcons need to make sure that they are 100% sure that they have enough depth at that position moving forward. So the safety position, the cornerback position, definitely another linebacker. When Caden Ellis went out, I thought that really hurt us as well. Our depth at linebacker was bad. And it showed once Caden Ellis went out in that Aints game. It really showed. Of course, Nate Landman played well all season, but once Caden Ellis went out, we could see the limitations. I like the potential in Troy Anderson. I love what Nate Landman did. Also love what Caden Ellis did. So another linebacker, definitely they need to be invested in that as well. But from a defensive standpoint, I thought the Atlanta Falcons, looking at the season review, made tremendous stride. The only question I have now moving forward for our defense, who's the coach going to be? Are they thinking about keeping, this successful defense that intact the way it was from a coaching staff, or are they going to make changes or make wholesale changes? And if they do, how they're going to affect the players on this team? And then the last thing is our free agents. Which free agents do they think they might consider they want to bring back to the fold, especially if it's a whole new coaching staff? You said, yeah, Phillip was solid for a rookie. Yes, he was. He was really good. I mean, and that's why Jeff Okudah lost his position, because, I can honestly say I don't think Phillips was out of position much. He just a lot of plays, the limitations. Learn how to play in NFL where these guys are really good, right? Um, because for the most part, he wasn't even on the number one. Olave did get a catch, a touchdown for in the end zone. But be honest with you, Clark Phillips turned around because that ball was underthrown. Clark Phillips definitely could have made a play on that ball. So, 100%, he was really solid for a rookie this year. And we're gonna tip our head off to the personnel department. You have to give Arthur Smith, credit for that as well because he was, instrumental in bringing those guys in. But the rookie department, the rookie guys really played well for themselves on the defensive side of the ball. Wilk Jones says, hopefully we get an OC to unleash this offense. And so I'm glad you talk about that because we're going to get into the offense on this season review. And to be honest with you, it really wasn't a whole bunch of bright spots on the offensive side of the ball this year. Yes, individually, some guys really did good. Drake London continued to be, consistent the way he was, last season. Definitely should have had more touches. Definitely had, more opportunities. But Drake London, despite the play calling, despite the quarterback play, Drake London really played well this season. I think he's a bona fide number one. We definitely need to go out. Keep in mind, guys, we only got Drake London that's still on the contract for us. I think they did bring in another. They signed the guy on the futures contract, but for the most part, all our other receivers are free agents, and depending on who the new coach is, right? None of those guys might not be back. That's just the way it is. We don't know how they fit into the future of the Atlanta Falcons because they are free agents, and the new coaching staff might not want one of those guys back because they might fit, the scheme that they want. Kyle Pitts. Let's talk about Kyle Pitts. I seen out there on X today on social media where Kyle Pitts had a MCL and a TCL, I think it was. So he had two PCL. He had two, injuries to that knee. He looked sluggish all season long, right? It seemed like he was like carrying that leg a little bit. He didn't have his explosiveness like he wanted, and it kind of showed. But at the same time, saying that Kyle Pitts definitely did not get the opportunities he needed this season as well. And to be honest with you, going into his third season, this was a disappointing season for having a guy that we drafted number 4 overall to the production that he had. When you look at a guy like Sam Laporta, that just got drafted for the Detroit Lions. He looks like the guy that should have went number 4 or what we've seen from Kyle Pitts this year. Now, hindsight 2020, what he did his first season almost broke the rookie tight end record. We can't forget that he went to the Pro Bowl that year. So he showed the flashes, just these last 2 seasons, playing half of the season, getting injured, then coming back, not 100% what it looks like all season long. And then once again, I'm going to talk about the quarterback play and the play calling was not sufficient enough. And they got Kyle Pitts looking like a bust. It's just sad. It's unsaid the fact that the way Kyle Pitts looked this year. We talk about the review of the season. Of course, we took Bijan Robinson at number 8 overall. The debate about that is going to go on over time. We'll definitely have to see, what the Atlanta Falcons decide to do moving forward, with both running backs, Tyler Algier, who ran over 1,000 yards last season, and then this season, Bijan, about 40 to 50 yards away from 1,000 yards, but well over 1,400 yards of all-purpose yards with receiving and rushing. So 8 touchdowns that he had. I think it was a successful season for Bijan Robinson. he should be on the first, all team rookies for the rookies on the offensive side of the ball. He lived up to that. But once again, I want to go back to the quarterback play and the play calling. And with those three guys, if you think about it, all three of those guys were picked, in the top 10. That's the trio right there. We were not able to utilize those guys, to be their best version of themselves, and that's what we lost out this season from the offensive side of the ball. Bijan did have great numbers, but a lot of times, the usage, wasn't the way it needed to be. I think it was a thing out there said he used Bijan like 45%, carries. Understandably, because you do have outstanding back in Tyler Algier that's still here, that's really, really good. And then the fact that you did draft the running back, maybe you could have considered trading a guy like Cordell Patterson to get more, assets, because he was completely underutilized this year. Cordell Patterson does have receiving abilities. He could have been utilized in the passing game, which I kind of envisioned going into this season because we had Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson. I kind of envisioned a guy like Cordell Patterson being utilized more in the passing game, but because that's what he came in the lead as. So he do have the capability of catching the ball, but the offense, maybe it was complicated, but it was so bland that you don't know what they expect from week to week, and that's what we got from this offense this year. And like I said, the shoddy quarterback play from time to time, the bad play calling, not being able to utilize your guys, that's what we got this season from an offensive standpoint. We're gonna, give a good applaud off to our offensive line. I thought offensive line played well this year. Wasn't perfect, not by no means, but if you can bring that front five back, maybe they might consider looking at the center position. Drew Dahlman missed some games. Thought Ryan Newsom came in and played well, but this all depends on the new coaching staff that's going to come in. Especially if it's an OC that they decide to sign. That's going to make a lot of difference the direction that this team move. I think their pieces are there from offensive standpoint. You have the offensive line, you have the running backs. You only got one receiver, and you got two tight ends. Yes, Jonnu Smith is definitely going to be. He got another year in his contract. So with Jonnu, you got Kyle, you got John Fitzpatrick, who's still here as well. We might not have tight end U here anymore because Arthur Smith gone. We knew Arthur Smith loved his tight end, so you could definitely see that changing. Depending on who the next coach going to be, right? From a rookie standpoint, like I said, we got to tip our hat off to the personnel department for drafting Bijan Robinson and Matthew Bergeron. Were really, really good signings this year for both of those guys. I don't think we even heard Matthew Bergeron name that much, and that means he played well. If you go back to our draft pick that we got a couple of years ago, in Mayfield, whoa, that was terrible. So we got it. Matthew Bergeron, we kind of forgot he was a rookie on the offensive line. They're out there beside Jay Matthews, and you can't ask for nothing more because we did not hear Matthew Bergeron's name at all this season, which means he held his own. Got it. That's really good for a rookie coming in. His first start from day one all the way through the season. So Matthew Bergeron did a great and outstanding job. Bijan Robinson did a great and outstanding job. Underutilized from an offensive standpoint, all our playmakers. But at the end of the day, those individual performances, if I want to say anything about offense, those guys lived up to the hype. Not completely, because I thought Bijan could have been even better if he were utilized correctly. But him and Matthew Bergeron on the offensive standpoint, I think they did everything they were supposed to do in this draft. So once again, Terry Fontenot, and I will give credit to Arthur Smith as well. Great draft class so far. And, besides that first season, some of those guys, starting out to look like we want them to look. We already got rid of Mayfield. We already got rid of Okendeji, right? Both of those guys are out. We got Richie Grant might be another one. We'll time to tell about him as well. Darren Hall was another guy that they drafted. So it's some guys that they drafted that they missed on. And you're not going to have a perfect draft, but you do got to tip your head off to some of the guys that they have drafted that has panned out. It looked like Troy Anderson going to be a solid player here. We just don't know. Still got room to grow. Definitely, he's a great athlete. Still learning the position, so we definitely gonna see what Troy Anderson is going to be all about. We just talked about Clark Phillip. We talked about Zach Harrison, right? That's a good draft class from this Atlanta Falcon team. So I really like what we've seen so far. Now it's on to the new. We're going to see what happens moving forward. EQ said, I said it before, Bill, Bell, and Josh. What's good, false start Falcon? All right, guys, let's go on and get into it. EQ started off with the Bill Belichick rumors, right? Bill Belichick rumor. So I want to start off by saying this: we haven't heard a lot out of the Atlanta Falcons, search department about what's going on with our coaches right now. So this is going to be interesting. So why it's really interesting because the number of vacancies that's out there. Right now, the Falcons, we heard them 2 days ago. They gave a press conference and they said they're not in a rush. Right? They said they're not in a rush. But I'm going to tell you, with 7 vacancies out there, somebody's going to snatch somebody up and make an offer. And it could be one of the guys that you're contemplating, that you might not even get a chance to interview these guys because somebody might make them an offer and they might decide to go ahead and take that offer and they become the coach, right? The good things, a lot of these guys are, got playoff games coming on in, the next couple of weeks. So, they got to schedule out their interviews and things like that. I understand all that stuff. But with 7 vacancies open, because we just heard about Pete Carroll getting let go. We heard about Mike Vrabel yesterday. So that's a lot of vacancies that's out there. Now, I do think that the Atlanta Falcons is an attractive job to have, right? All because of all the things I just talked about from their season review, from the pieces that we got on this team. And only issue is we don't have a quarterback, right? So that's a big deal. May not seem like it, but you don't have a franchise quarterback, that could be something that the new coach might not want to come in because that means, do you have a project on your hand, right? Now, it could also be enticing because they get to pick their quarterback, right? And like it or not, the coach and the quarterback, they're tied together most of the time, right? That's why Arthur Smith is out the door, because he tied himself to the quarterbacks who's on our roster, and they let him down. It's just no other way around it. The quarterback play was not good enough. And, that's why Arthur Smith is out the door, right? So the new coach coming in might be enticed by being able to pick their new quarterback, right? So the question is, what direction are the Atlanta Falcons, front office going to go in? That's the question. Now, from the track record, in the 20-some years that Arthur Blank has owned this team, has never hired, a coach that was not a first-time coach, except Coach Dan Reeves, right? Dan Reeves was here. That was the first coach. But if you go past Dan Reeves, all coaches that they have hired had no pro head coaching experience. Bob Petrino was not he was a head coach in college, but he don't really count anyway, right? But if you look at all the other guys, to Jim Mara, to Mike Smith, to a Dan Quinn, to a Arthur Smith, right? Look at all those guys. None of those guys had head coaching experience coming in, right? And we got to dispel this myth because it didn't work out for all those guys. They all was, good candidates when the Atlanta Falcons hired them. Every last one of them, right? There was some of the top guys that everybody wanted, everybody interviewed, everybody thought would be a good coach for their franchise. It was not like it was these guys with nobody else wanted, and the Atlanta Falcons took consolation prizes. It was not like that at all. So we have to stop saying that because it didn't work, it doesn't mean that they didn't do their due diligence and thought that it was getting the right guy, to be, the leader of their franchise for years and years to come, right? Everybody's not lucky to get a Mike Tomlin, not to get a John Harbaugh, right? Not to get a Bill Belichick, right? These guys have been in these franchises for years and years and years, right? And not winning all the time, but the consistency that they have built, an organization allow, the owner and the organization to let them figure it out, and build themselves back up. That's not what the Atlanta Falcons were able to do, right? You can say what you want to say about Dan Quinn. He was one of the top coaching candidates when he came out, right? In the end, it didn't happen the way we wanted to happen, right? Same thing can be said about Arthur Smith. He was one of the top coaches candidates coming out. It didn't happen the way we wanted to happen. So they do have that. They can say that we're going to go out once again and get a young guy to come in to be our coach. That's definitely something that Atlanta Falcons can consider. They can come in and say, hey, well, even though it didn't work this time, we're going to go get a Bobby Slovic from the Houston Texans, right? Part of that tree, coming from San Francisco, right? You'll be able to get that kind of offense similar to what Archie Smith was trying to run. So have some familiarity with it. You could bring that in. Maybe he's able to put these guys in better places than Archie Smith was able to do, right? That could be an option, right? One of the hottest coaches out there, coach like Ben Johnson, everybody's talking about him, right? From Detroit. Price tag was way up there, what he was asking for, but I definitely think he could consider this an attractive job that he would want to come in and make, the Atlanta Falcons, and turn it around from an offensive standpoint. He's another guy, right? People talk about Mike McDonald from the Baltimore Ravens, defensive coordinator, been there since John Harbaugh been there. Definitely probably deserve a coaching job, Okay, and now, being a black guy, I'm going to call out some black coaches as well, because I do think some of these guys definitely deserve a chance. Brian Flores is a guy that definitely could come in. Already was head coach before. Didn't turn out the way he wanted it in Miami. Actually, did not have. He actually last season he coached there. It was a winning season. Of course, the Miami Dolphins decided to go in a different direction. We know about all that. They thought they was getting Tom Brady and right, and they was trying to set things up. So Brian Flores, Raheem Morris, right? Raheem Morris been out with the Rams. Now this is a guy that we bringing back, right? Even the guy that the Atlanta Falcons had on an intern basis once they got rid of Dan Quinn as well. But so he has familiarity with the organization. He has familiarity with Rich McKay. So I don't know about Raheem Morris per se, but he has did really good job out there with the Los Angeles Rams. So he's another guy that they definitely consider. Always going to mention Eric Bieniemy because at some point, hopefully, he will get opportunity to come in. Now the Atlanta Falcons do have to, exercise the winning rule. So A lot of these guys that I'm talking about are definitely going to get opportunity. They're going to be able to, come in and pitch, give a pitch for how they think, to take this organization into a different direction. Right now, we're going to get to, the rumor out there with a guy like a Bill Belichick, right? First of all, Bill Belichick is still with the New England Patriots. He has not been let go yet, but there is, some rumors around that they really might consider letting Bill Belichick go, just like they just, like the Seattle Seahawks just let Pete Carroll go, right? Now, I came out and said Bill Belichick's like 70-year-old. At least look at Nick Saban, just decided to let it go. Bill Belichick around the same age, right? How much more do he want to coach? That's something that the Atlanta Falcons need to consider. One thing about Bill Belichick, and I don't know how he would fit in Atlanta, to be honest with you. I don't know how he would, be able to give up all the responsibilities that he definitely had with the New England Patriots, coming in, working with Terry Fontenot, letting him, go out and get the things that he need to cook the recipe, and then, let him coach. I don't know if he's willing to do those kind of things. So, but I can say this about Bill Belichick. No matter what we want to say about him, I think he is a great coach. Just old. To me, it's kind of old, and I don't know if that's the right pick. I do know that Arthur Blank is trying to maybe change course. I just talked about they always hiring first-time coaches. Maybe they want to go in different directions. Now, Brian Flores is not a first-time coach. Raheem Morris is not a first-time coach. Jim Harbaugh is definitely a guy that is not a first-time coach. He took the San Francisco 49ers to 3 NFC championship games and a Super Bowl, right? So these are some of the things we definitely can, look at from the coaching standpoint. There's a lot of guys. Some people mentioned Todd Monken that's also with the Baltimore Ravens. So I personally don't know which direction the Atlanta Falcons are going to go in, because to be honest with you, I feel like they prematurely got rid of Arthur Smith. He deserved to go. He deserved to get fired because of this season, right? But the job wasn't finished. It's an incomplete rebuild per se, from a standpoint where they only had this season to kind of show. And I just talked about the defense blossoming, right? If you change it all, it's like you didn't let the product to see what it was going to be like. And Arthur Smith it's all on him. He screwed himself, right? He picked the quarterback that he wanted. The 2 quarterbacks that he wanted. He played the musical chairs. He couldn't get his offense going. He lost too many winnable games this season. So deservedly so, Arthur Smith got fired. But at this point, I have no clue the direction the Falcons should go in, because this team was built in what Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot, the direction that they had it. New coach come in might have a totally different direction. So you can't expect the coach to pick up where Arthur Smith left off, because he might have a different vision, different direction that he want to go in. So it's just weird to me that how they going to do it. Now, if you want to get rid of both the GM and the coach, right, and then say we're just starting over, but these are words that came out their mouth, right? They said they ready to win now, right? So basically, they're expecting whoever the new coach to come in with the personnel we got and get it going. So that makes me think they're leaning towards a veteran coach. Now, I said all that just to say that I think they're leaning towards a veteran coach. The rumors could be true about a Bill Belichick. Maybe they know something about what's going on in New England more than we do, right? We just talked about Mike Vrabel getting let go. Maybe Mike Vrabel is going to be the successor to Bill Belichick, and they do let him go. And then the word on the street is that the Atlanta Falcons going to jump on the opportunity to try to hire the 6-time Super Bowl champion coach. So that's where it is. I have no idea how this would turn out. I do still think he's a great coach. I do. If you look at their defense from a defense standpoint, he is not going to fix the offense. He's going to have to bring somebody else in. Hopefully, he don't bring a defensive coordinator in to be his offensive coordinator. Hopefully, he doesn't try that again, right? Maybe he bring Josh McDaniel back to be the OC, right? Josh McDaniel can't be a head coach, but maybe a good OC. Excuse me. So those are the things you got to consider. Millie Mills says, I saw let's take a chance on Joe Brady if he becomes available after the playoffs. Him with all these weapons, let him pick his quarterback. That's a guy I forgot about Joe Brady. You saw what he was able to do with Joe Burrow out in LSU. What he been able to do with Josh Allen since they let their OC go. So you are 100% correct. Joe Brady is another guy that could be on the Atlanta Falcons radar. Another guy will be a first-time head coach. So those are some of the things we definitely got to think about. Ikri said Jim Harbaugh would be a good candidate to me. Yes, I agree with you 100%. He has won everywhere he went. It's just that simple. Jim Harbaugh is a good coach. There's no other way around it. He's a quirky guy. He is, but if we was able to deal with Arthur Smith, you could be able to deal with Bill Belichick. Imagine Bill Belichick with the Atlanta media. It'd be really interesting to say the least. So, and the only thing he knows is New England for 20 years. So it'll be really interesting to see Bill Belichick, actually lead New England. That's why I don't think it's going to happen. But, all the things that I just talked about, all the things about, they want to win now, just come in and get this team going, right? That's what you look like, what they're saying. But you just don't know. There's so many great, candidates out there. But at the end of the day, we don't know how good they are as a coach. We've seen what they was able to do as a coordinators, right? We ever seen that as do a defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. We've seen that. That's no secret what they've been able to do, under that circumstances. But as a head coach, right, being able to manage, the team, being able to manage the offense, if you're a defensive head coach, being able to manage your defense, your offensive head coach, right? You got to be able to manage all that. And maybe this time, just maybe this time, the Atlanta Falcons is going to decide that they want to go with somebody with some experience. They did not say that, but maybe that's the direction they're looking in. We just don't know. Jim Marino said Arthur Blank needs to follow the tree Dan Reeves, Gary Kubiak, and T. You keep talking about you want Gary Kubiak to come out of retirement. That's funny, man. I don't know. I like Gary Kubiak. I definitely wanted him to come, but they blocked that. They blocked that interview that year with the Denver Broncos. At the end of Recondo, the league about to have first-time head coach if they're not already proven. First-time guys aren't stuck in their ways, and it's the only a handful of guys among guys that bet. Yeah, I mean you're right. I at the end, you're probably right. They're going to end up picking the first-time head coach. But see, this is the name, right? Everybody's like, they don't know what they're doing. They can't get it right. But when we hired Dan Quinn, when we hired Arthur Smith, everybody said it was good. It was good candidates. Everybody said that, right? So we're gonna. My point is, we saying all these guys are good candidates now, right? And then if it don't work out, you're gonna say they hired the wrong guy. They didn't know what they were doing. That's the point I'm making, right? You don't really know. And I know Arthur Blank didn't want to say it was a crapshoot, but I'm just saying, you signed Arthur Smith to a 6-year contract, and you didn't even let him finish. I don't know if he can coach 100%. What we've seen in 1 year, because to me, you got to only grade this 1 year. The first 2 years didn't really count that much. The 1 year that he had a good solid squad, it was terrible. And then you cut bait. So, you bring in one of these hot coaches that you think is awesome, and they have one bad year, you're gonna start over again. I don't know. That's the point I'm making, right? They have no track record saying that they can actually win, and then we're so that's where we're at. That's the point I'm making. So I don't know. There's so many good candidates out there, but how do they determine the one that they think is going to be, get this team to winning teams, have sustained some winning success, instead of, going to the playoffs 1 year, then being garbage for the next 7 years. We need to get out of our own way. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know who that guy is. I really don't. We did the crystal ball, we would be able to go ahead and pick that guy out. But at the end of the day, like, either you're going to pick the guy and be like, I got faith and confidence in you because I hired you and I'm going to let you see what you can do. Or you're going to say, hey, you had a terrible season and there's no excuse for that. And I'm about to go, right? Because that's where we're at now, right? We had a bad season, terrible season, disappointing season, unacceptable season, but you're starting over. So you're expecting a new guy to come in and just kick it off on a new spot. But it's a new job for him. It is. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know how I don't know how this is going to work out. That's where I'm at with it. And that's why I think they might go veteran. It's remember Denver stock? Yep. I do remember that. They stopped that talks. And then I think he retired like a couple of years later. Jim Harbaugh is my top choice. My dark horse is Jim Caldwell. I forgot about Jim Caldwell. I'm glad you mentioned Jim Caldwell because I want to mention all the guys that definitely. Jim Caldwell, in my opinion, might be the best guy if you're going to pick a veteran guy out there, because he did have success in Indianapolis. He actually had a winning record with the Detroit Lions when they decided to cut bait as well. So that's a great point about Jim Caldwell. And you just mentioned it. He was turning the team around. So that's a great point about Jim Caldwell. Great point. I forgot about him. I think Jim Harbaugh is going to be a lot of people talk. The question is, what's the most attractive? In my opinion, looking at the openings, if you go to Vegas, the Panthers, the Commanders, the Chargers, the Seahawks, and the Falcons, I believe that the Chargers probably got the most attractive job because they already got a franchise quarterback there, right? So I think that might be the most attractive job, and they got pieces around the quarterback. They do. They got a receiving core, they got a running back, they got defensive players. They really do. So, but then second, I believe it's the Atlanta Falcons. I think the Atlanta Falcons got the second most attractive job, that's out there right now. So, 1, 2, you looking at one. If Jim Harbaugh want to, stay on the West Coast, he might do that. He might say he want to go to Los Angeles, right? But if he want to, come into Atlanta, pick his own quarterback, and got to put the pieces around him that you already got, just add to it, he can do that as well. So, that's a good point about a guy like Jim Harbaugh. What would he decide to do? Maybe the Atlanta Falcons got to throw a bag at him. That's maybe what they have to end up doing. Gary Kubiak and his son will make a good coaching team. The coaches are under Green Bay and Texan head coaches now. Arthur Blank needs to get him out of retirement. There you go. I think John Moreno is lobbying for Gary Kubiak. Okay, they did. Yep. Also, Jim Caldwell doesn't believe in blowing a roster. He likes to evaluate the talent on the team first. That's a great point. And that's really important because this team is solid. And I would even, suggest him looking at some of the free agents and see can he bring some of those guys back as well. Um, that would be great. That would be great. And let's just say this: besides Raheem Morris, the Atlanta Falcons hasn't had, our Afro American coach in here, so that would be something interesting to see if we bring in a guy like Jim Caldwell. Um, Jim can find the right quarterback. I agree. I think he can as well. He's seen it. He's seen Atlanta don't need to hire any coaches that just got fired. If they didn't get the job done there, what makes it they're going to be able to do it for the Falcons? I mean, that's the whole. That's why if you're looking at it, most time the Atlanta Falcons have hired brand new coaches. So that's the philosophy. Look like the philosophy they use for the most part on all the hires. They giving new guys opportunities to go out and show what they got, right? And then they can do that. They definitely can do that. But they just did that with Arthur Smith. And after 1 year, they decided to be like, nah, bro. And honestly, he did it to himself because this season was just that bad. It was. So I'm not I'm not trying to say he should have stayed. It was a bad season. So, but this roster is good. We all agree that this roster is a good roster, right? All right. So let's just say bringing a new coach, right? He gets his own quarterback. He got this same roster that Arthur Smith had, and even better, right? Because we're going to add to it, and then they don't win. Do Arthur Blank fire him, or he let him stay because he didn't do well his first year, right? That's the point I'm making. They got to go ahead and decide the guy that they want and just roll with it, man. That's what they got to do, and then let the guy do his thing. That's what they got to do. John Moreno says Arthur Smith and DQ are not head coaching material. Now they know that. They didn't know that at first because they was brand new coaches. I mean, how you gonna know they're not? How you know they're not head coaching material until they become head coaches? That's the point I'm making. How you know any of these guys are head coaching material? You don't know, right? That's the nature of it. You can. I mean, some of these guys give impressive plans how they want to come in and and build a team and how they're going to be the CEO, that coach, for the future. They give great freaking plans of how they're going to do it. That's why they say Eric Bieniemy, his plan is not really all there. That's why he haven't got opportunity. I don't know that to be true or not, whatever. But Arthur Smith, Dan Quinn gave great plans. They knew the roster. They knew who they was going to hire in coaching spots and stuff. They said how they were going to fix it. Now, the interesting thing about Arthur Smith is that the fact that he was able to lay out how they wanted to build this roster, and they had a 3-year plan, him and Terry Fontenot, and they lived up to the 3-year plan. It just so happened that that third year didn't work out the way they wanted to work out, and that's why it fell apart at the end. But these coaches got to come in with a plan, right? So they're gonna come in with their 3-hour brief, how they're gonna build this team, and one of the coaches gonna wow, these guys, and whoever's doing the hiring, considering and things like that, and they're gonna be like, that's our guy, that's who we want, just like they did Arthur Smith, right? Just like they did Dan Quinn, right? That's what they said. Those are our guys. We want you to do what you did to the Legion of Boom and bring it to the Atlanta Falcons. It didn't happen. We want you, Arthur Smith, to bring the number 1 scoring defense 2 years in a row to Atlanta. We want you to bring that. It didn't happen, right? But they sold them that they could do that. And at the end of the day, it didn't happen. So, Ricardo, I know you don't like this, but if we can't move up and get one of the top 3 quarterbacks, or can't trade for Fields or Cousin, what option is better than both? Oh, hell no. No. Hell no. No, 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 no. No. No, no, no. Bo Nick's been in college for like 5 years, man. Like, like I get it. He went out of Oregon and he played better, but we seen Bo Nix for 3 straight years in Auburn and got benched. And like, it's no. I'm out on Bo Nix. That's just me. I wouldn't want Bo Nix to come in. I think that's another Desmond Ritter. I'm just saying it. Like, if you get Bo Nix, yeah, you pick another Desmond Ritter. That's just me. Now, I suggest if the Falcons don't get Cousins, Fields, they need to move up to get one of the top 3 quarterbacks. In my opinion, they need to get the number 1 guy. Go all out, man. Go for it. Like, why get the second guy and you can get the first guy? The guy that you think's number 1, right? Whoever that may be, right? If you think he's number 1, don't let somebody else pick him, right? So you got 8, you got to go up 7 spots. Not sure what that conversation would be to go up to move to 7 spots, but that's what I would definitely do. But Bo Nix ain't on my list. Michael Penix Jr. I don't want to say he lost some stock in the playoffs. He did miss pass throws and stuff like that, but I just think they lost to a better team. That's what happened, and he didn't play well. So I'm not gonna put too much on one game on what I seen from Michael Penix Jr. because I seen the guy, when he had opportunities, he threw a lot of good passes. I mean, it's not like when I watch Justin Fields play at Ohio State and guys wide open, right? And he was able to complete passes. To me, and that's what I'm kind of iffy about Drake May either. When I look at Drake May film, he's not throwing 100% accurate pass. He's throwing the wide open guys, and I'm telling you, most guys in the NFL is never wide open. That's how you can tell if a guy's accurate or not. So that's what kind of bars me a little bit about what I seen from when I saw from Justin Fields, and then what I kind of see from a guy like Drake May. I think Caleb Williams, I think he's got it. I think Penix has it. I really do. Jalen Daniels is just a dynamic. He's a wild card guy because of his capability to move outside the pocket. He's light. He's not the big guy, right? He can make all the throws. So he's a wild card. He is. So between those 3 guys, but I don't know who the Atlanta Falcons would want. And once again, that's up to the coaching staff once they just figure out who that is. And once we figure that out, then we can kind of get an idea what direction we think the Atlanta Falcons might go in at the quarterback position. Look, Green Bay and the Texan head coaches have been playoffs their first year, and these coaches under Gary Kubiak. Oh my God. Yeah. Hey man, you need to go ahead and call Arthur Blank and Rich McKay right now, John. Go ahead and call them, man, because you're selling you're selling this guy. Like, I don't even know if he's interested in coaching, right? So I mean, I think you got him there, man. Let's see here. SEC exposed Knicks year after year. They did 100%. That's my point. No, I do not want Knicks. He was exposed. And then the one time he played the SEC team, when he came back, when he was Oregon, Georgia embarrassed him again. Like the same old things. So like, I'm out on both Knicks. That's just me. And hopefully it'll prove itself out. I mean, just like, the Desmond Ritter year, when the first quarterback went at 20, right? And then the next quarterback went in the 3rd round. they already knew. None of those guys have panned out to be a quality quarterback so far, right? Sam Howell, maybe one day we'll know, but the Commanders are picking 2, so more than likely with a new ownership, new coaching staff, new GM, they're probably taking a quarterback at number 2. So Sam Howell might be, had his one opportunity to do what he was going to do. All right, so what does it take to move up? If you're the GM, what are you giving up there to go up there? Of course, you got to give up number 8. And you probably got to give up next year's number 1 as well. We only moving up 7 spots, so it's a calculator out there. I don't know what the numbers are now, but they have that right now. The San Francisco 49ers, they had to move up a lot. They had to move up a lot to go get Trey Lance, so they had to give up 3 first-round picks. I don't think the Atlanta Falcons would have to do that because they're only moving up 7 spots. They're already in the top 10, so the price for Atlanta to move up might not be as much, as what it took San Francisco to give up 3 first-round picks. So maybe a first this year, a first next year, and then maybe a 3rd or 4th, something like that. I don't know. But somebody, that got that calculator out there, trust me, they already got that, what it would take to go get him. And it costs more to get a quarterback too. So they're gonna put that tax on it. So Daniel has the most upside to me. Yes, he's a wild card. He does. Because it's one thing you can't teach. The way he moves and the way he's able to get out of harm's way, you can't teach that, right? If you can hone in the other skill set he has, he need to bulk up a little bit because he's kind of light. I mean, I still got flashbacks in my head where Jalen Carter picked him up with one arm like a little kid. So he need to put on some weight, man. He really do. John Marino said money talks. Yeah, maybe. John, how old is Gary Kubiak? Let us know that. How old is Gary Kubiak? I'm pretty sure we're about to move up. I hope so. But see, the thing about moving up, false start Falcon is who's the coach? We don't know who the coach is yet. Because I would say, like, just say a Bill Belichick, right? You get a Bill Belichick in. Would he want to move up? Would he want to move up, right? I think if you get one of these rookie coaches, right, like a Bobby Slovic, right, you get a guy like that, you get a guy like Ben Johnson, I say they definitely want to move up and get their own quarterback. So I could agree with that on those guys. Somebody like that. A Raheem Morris, I think he'll be willing. A Jim Caldwell, I think he'll be willing to move up. Brian Flores, I think would be the same. So there's a lot of guys when you think about it might be, consider to move up. Jim Harbaugh definitely probably would be willing to move up as long as he don't try to sign JJ McCarthy, right? So those are some of the things that we can definitely look at from a coaching standpoint. Can't wait till they start to come out who they interviewed so we can actually talk about these guys for real, who they might be interested in. Right now, we don't know. I do know that a lot of guys already been getting interviews and have been questioned. And like I said, it's 7 spots. Believe it or not, your guy might get snatched up, whoever it is. Your guy definitely might get snatched up. So that's something we got to think about. Initially, when they said that it's going to take time, don't expect them to hire nobody. Well, like I said, if one of the guys that you really like, get snatched up by somebody else, now you getting a consolation. So it behoove the Falcons to, not to, not go out and get the right guy, but they better make sure that if they got somebody they really want, they need to freaking go try to talk to them. Now we talked about Bill Belichick. If that's who they're waiting on, because that's what the rumor says. They're waiting on him to see what the Patriots going to do. Well, that's why they playing the slow game, because they want to see what happened with a guy like Bill Belichick. So we'll just have to see. Moreno said, what trading for a quarterback that the Cowboys got from the 49ers this year is better what we have now. Trey Lance is an unknown. I wouldn't get Trey Lance. We haven't seen enough film on Trey Lance at all. Now, if they can get Trey Lance for like a 5th round pick, I get him. I bring him in. But then I still draft a quarterback. I'm sorry. I double dip on that, man. I get all the guys. I get Trey Lance. You got him for 5th round pick, and I'll get I get a draft a quarterback as well. I say we trade for Herbert on the Chargers. I don't see a quarterback in the draft. Wow. So you don't think none of these guys going to be good? I think at least 2 of them going to be good. Don't know which 2. You never know which 2. AQ, I say the same thing. F it. We're not getting just Herbert, guys. We're not getting just Herbert. Like, this is the funny part about it. Because Falcon fans, a lot of Falcon fans, not you guys, but a lot of Falcon fans be like upset because we can't get, a guy that's on another team. Like, why we didn't get Lamar Jackson? Because we was never going to get Lamar Jackson, right? We ain't getting just Herbert. We ain't getting Mike Tomlin, right? People like, let's go get Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's under contract. He ain't going nowhere, right? We can't take other people players, man, and coaches. We can't do it. They got to give it up. And you got to, for guys like that, what you willing to pay. So it's not that easy. Herbert West spot, like, yeah, he's not coming over here. He's staying on the West Coast. Pretty boy. So he didn't want to come over here anyway. Come down south. Mess with these Georgia Peaches. Let's see what you got here. I definitely would love to see 4 quarterbacks at the beginning of the training camp. The more comfortable, better. Yeah, like, I mean, just say you trade for Justin Fields, right? You trade for Justin Fields, basically you're saying he's going to be the starter. But I would say, should he compete? But if you saying compete with Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke, I don't know about all that. Outlaw Thug and Martin. Robert said you want to see 4 quarterbacks. That's a lot of quarterbacks. Yeah, man, we the Dirty Birds. We bullied the teams. Well, at least we used to. Who we bullied? We used to bully the Aints. That's what's so funny, man. Like, I remember the Aints used to have bags over their heads, their fans. Right? They used to be sorry. And until recently, with Drew Brees and Sean Payton, I'm glad they gone. But until recently, we owned the Aints, right? It was a rivalry, but it really wasn't, because the Falcons used to beat up on them all the time. Now, all of a sudden, division tied. We tied on wins and losses, which is crazy. But we don't bully nobody. We used to bully. You're right. We did bully NFC South for the most part, but it has not been trickling in that direction lately. I remember the bags. Me too. I don't know if you guys remember when the Fulton County Stadium was here. They used to have blackouts, in Atlanta. So if you didn't even get to see the game unless you went to the stadium. That's how bad the Falcons were too. I mean, it's been some days, man. Like, I'm talking about real Falcon fans. That's why you see my name here and say real Falcon fan, because I remember those days, and I've been here since then. So, yeah, it used to be blackout in the city because there wasn't enough fans, so they'd black out the games. And if you lived in Atlanta, you couldn't even see the game on TV. That's That was the way it was, man. I remember the 49 used to be in our division. I don't know if you guys remember that. That's how I became a Joe Montana fan, because of what he used to do to Atlanta Falcons all the time. Watch our next head coach is going to remember the favorite victory for me. I hope so. I hope so. Payback as a mother. If you know what, the players remember it. The players remember it. Put that video up there. Put that video up there. That's what you got to do. Put that video up there. Yep, put that video up there, man. I hope our new coach do remember that. You know, and he don't, the players do. And guess what? We're gonna remind them as fans. We're gonna remind them what they did. Because they ain't have to do that. They ain't have to do that. They ain't have to go there. Yes, sir. The pre-Arthur Blank days in the old NFC West. Yep. I can say that. So that's one thing we can say about Arthur Blank. You know, he changed the Atlanta Falcons fanhood when he went and got Michael Vick, man. And it ain't been the same since. Right? Michael Vick. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, Too Legit to Quit years was pretty good. We had Prime Time. We had Jerry Glanville. I was young at those times. I was young at that time, but I still remember, you know, we had those guys. It was a party on the sideline back in those days. But you know, and they had some teams every now and then. I don't know if you guys remember June Jones and that crew. We had that run and shoot offense. Man, Chris Chandler was a good quarterback when we were here with Dan Reeves. He was a good quarterback. Terrence Mathis, Andre Rison, the Hammer, Jesse Tuggle. Man, we had I like those days was good. I mean, we didn't win, but I like some of those. I love some of those Falcon players back then. You know, diehard guys, man. They played their heart out week in, week out. So, but then when Michael Vick came, you know, it changed. You know, he brought electricity to the team. Michael Vick was the face of the NFL before he got into his crazy debacle stuff that he got into, and but those are the days, man. And then let's call the real. And when Matt Ryan got here in 2008, that's been the best Atlanta Falcons have been for a stretch. Mike Smith had 5 winning seasons while he was here as a coach. Dan Quinn was able to take the team to the Super Bowl. Now where we at? We're looking for another coach because Arthur Smith couldn't even get us over 500. So, that's the Atlanta Falcons, guys. We still here. I'm glad you still here. All right, whoever the coach be when they bring him in, we're gonna try to support him until we turn on him because he ain't getting it done, right? Hopefully they make the right decision, and bringing in the right quarterback and things like that. We got a lot to talk about this offseason. I can't wait to enjoy the talk with all you guys. It's going to be really good. Jeff George. Talk about Jeff George. Yep. Millie Mills said Michael Vick birthed all these quarterbacks in the league now. Yes, he did. And guess what? I'm glad you said that because this is the new age. They're not going back. It's not going back to the pocket passers anymore. It's not happening. It's not happening. You got to be able to create. That's why I like Caleb Williams. That's why I like Jalen Daniels. Those guys are the new age quarterback. And that's why I would definitely go get those guys. June Jones, Brandon Shoot, Andre Rison, Eric Metcalf. You talking about it now, man. You got me reminiscing a little bit, man. You got me reminiscing a little bit. That's why Deion Sanders is my favorite player ever. Because of the days he's in Atlanta, man. He was just electric, man. Like, the things he was able to do, just cat quick, man. Prime time. And then Michael Vick, I mean, just to go to if you never if you never made it to a Michael Vick game, man, you missed out because it was just amazing what he was able to do on the field, right? Only if he could stay out of trouble, learn how to read plays, and try to get in the playbook, he could have been, one of the greatest of all times. But that wasn't in his cards. He had to still say hood and stuff like that. So, Dan Quinn is the last OC. His last OC lost the face. Yep. Yeah, man. That's Kyle Shanahan. That's why Kyle Shanahan don't lost in 2 Super Bowls. Because he don't know what he be doing, man. He don't know what he be doing in the end of the games. Had a game in hand. Do you remember SuperNet? No, who is that? 330. You gotta refresh my memory on that one, brother. I don't know who that is. Refresh my memory on that, brothers. So guys, that's it. I enjoyed talking to you guys. We went in our memory lane a little bit, right? The off season's here. We're waiting on some coaching news, and then we can get into our regular scheduled off season program. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna start talking about the draft. We're gonna start talking about free agency. And we get into all that. We're gonna talk about the guys that's returning. What they're gonna be able to do here. So we got a lot of things to talk about. Dan Reeves drafted Mike Vick. Smith said Deion Sanders is my greatest athlete of all time. Mine too, brother. He really is. I give you guys my list of greatest athletes all time for me. Of course, Deion Sanders would be first for me, and then the next would be Kobe Bryant. I was a big Kobe Bryant fan. Me and Kobe Bryant would have been around the same age. So, if you guys did know, I was in the Marine Corps. Me and Kobe retired the same year. I retired from the Marine Corps. Kobe retired. He retired from the NBA. But those are my 2 favorite players: Kobe Bryant, Deion Sanders. So I was a big Isaiah Thomas fan growing up. The first Isaiah Thomas, the one from Detroit, I was a big Isaiah Thomas fan growing up. So, I mean, it's a lot of guys. So that's the last thing I'm gonna say. Then I'm gonna get out of here because I enjoyed talking to you guys tonight. John said the tree star with Dan Reeves, Gary Kubiak, right? Once again, I'm glad we're gonna leave that on a note. But I do want to tell you guys that we talked about sports, and I am gonna start, during the off season, I'm gonna start a series where I'm gonna just talk about all the sports. Because that's what I do. I love talking sports. I love talking about other teams, all the storylines out here. Like for instance, the inner errors and for some coaches, like a Nick Saban, like a Pete Carroll, right? Those are guys who's coaching for a long time. Pete Carroll was successful, in college, came to the NFL. He was successful. He was successful at New England before Bill Belichick was, right? I don't know if you guys remember that. Right. So Pete Carroll, his coaching career, Nick Saban, 6, national championships, right? So it's a lot of stuff to talk about across the board, to baseball, to basketball, to football. I'm gonna touch all those things. Yes, I'm gonna do it on Recondo Real Falcon Fan channel. But if you guys want to hear about that and talk about some of these other sports and other topics and things like that, we're gonna do it. I'm gonna dedicate at least one day to do that, to talk about that. But trust me, I'm gonna always continue to talk about these Atlanta Falcons because that's my passion. I'm riding out with this team. I got no choice. I'm too deep in. The movie In Too Deep. I'm in too deep with the Atlanta Falcons. I can't cut bait now. I got to ride with them to the end. So that's what it is. A lot of misery. They don't gave us not that much the cheer about and things like that. And now we're starting over all again. So that's what it is. And third said Supernet, the small guy from the Arena League, 1980 punt return. Man, I was too young. I got to look that up, but yeah, I was too young in 1980, so I do not remember Supernet. So guys, that's all I said. Definitely come back, for my next show that I come on, and definitely when I start my sports series. This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.